Orion Lee plays King Lou in the new Kelly Reichardt film First Cow. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby here with Orion, and I just want to start off by congratulating you on your Independent Spirit Award nomination, also your nomination at the Gotham Awards. You've gotten a few mentions actually from critics groups. What has your response been to all of this love you've gotten recently?
It's very kind and and lovely, and this is my sort of first lead role in a film, and it's very gratifying and comforting, and every positive word that you can think of.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I'm curious. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I guess because it was my first, lead role. I'd done lead roles on stage, so it was quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So, just in case there are any actors watching, my approach to the whole thing was just to go scene by scene and just do everything just based on what I knew, which was like it's kind of like the preparation for an audition. You get a scene and then you audition, and actors know how to do that. That's what we do. So I kind of just broke the whole film down so that it was just like scene, 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 and that's what really gave me the confidence, I guess. In a way, I was just doing a small scene. I just happened to be doing another one the next day, and then another one the next day, and then another one the next day, and then lo and behold, there's
Yeah,
a
it
film.
all added up to this perfect film. Well, when you first looked at the script for the movie and you were just considering whether or not you'd want to be involved, was there one thing in particular that you just latched onto about the character that you felt like, you could really embody this guy?
Well, firstly, it was Kelly Reichardt, so that
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
I've always in my career, I've always sort of like gone by the by my my assessment, and sometimes it's wrong, of the quality of the people I'm working with. And so the first thing, which just said how I definitely want to be involved in this was, I had watched Kelly Reichardt's Night Moves, and I loved it. And then reading the script, there's a lot of similarities in King Lu and I, in that we're both very how do you say this, migratory. We've lived in a lot of different places, and in that process we've had to adapt. I just think of when I was first moving to Australia. I was very stubborn, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be me. And then that clashed with a lot of, there's just a different culture. You're in a different culture, so there's different things which people are used to, different behaviors. Like for one attitude which I had in coming from Malaysia, was that we had a huge respect for our teachers. And over here, it's like, if you don't diss your teachers, it's like, what's wrong with you? And then another thing was, I nearly got sent back a year because the teachers went up to my parents and said, oh, you know what? He's just not following in the class. And then, he never asks any questions. And then my parents were like, no, but he's clever. And then they sat me down and said, well, why aren't you following in class? I said, why aren't you asking? And she said, they said, why aren't you asking any questions? I said, because I know the answers. Why should I put up my hand? And so after that, regularly, every like, I don't know, 15 minutes, I just put up my hand and go, hi, what's this? um, but I mean, it's a very long side story, but basically it was just, I had to adapt to a different culture. And King Louis is constantly adapting because he has to fit into these different places, and to survive in a time where racism was even more prevalent. Although I guess in some ways we've seen that it maybe is just as prevalent now. But that sort of, I love that it is a kind of migrant story, and how this also, this person has an accent which is kind of his own because he's come from so many different places. So yeah, it's a lot of those sorts of different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned that you've been kind of all around the world yourself. So maybe you were a little bit more versed in the outdoors than your co-star, John Magaro, who I spoke with, and he said he's very much a city boy. But did you struggle at all in those scenes where you're being asked to do this hard labor and really just work with your hands?
No, I mean, I'm a city boy as well, really.
Yeah.
But we had the two nights, 3 days camping. That was very handy. And we had someone who was showing us, how to make twine rope and what the process of trapping would be like, and so on, which was very, very handy. The main thing, I mean, and the forest itself, I mean, the locations were so beautiful. But the main thing I remember was how cold it was on that day that I had to get naked.
Yeah.
It was so cold. Yeah, but it was generally cool. There was one day when we were in a canoe and some water went into the canoe. By the time we got back to shore, it turned to ice. So the props person was like taking ice out of the boat instead of water.
That's intense. Well, speaking to more of the themes of the movie itself, like I said, I spoke with John recently, and he actually mentioned that Cookie, his character, and King Lou are essentially soulmates. And that's something I definitely picked up on while I was watching the film, where it felt like it was something more than just a friendship. Maybe it's something in between. Maybe it doesn't have labels, But do you have any perspective on just the nature of their relationship, either just from when the two of you were shooting it, or now that people have seen it and they're picking up on certain things?
Yeah. This is a very good question. Kind of a long one too. I mean, the answer, I think it's so. Firstly, when I read this, I thought these two people are the same, and as you say, they're kind of like they're so I thought there were two quiet people in a very sort of like two quiet, gentle people in a setting which is kind of like not physically loud, but like just loud and brusque, and these two people find each other. And I thought, like I said, they're very alike, because I think I don't think opposites attract. I think people who are similar attract. But I remember having this conversation with Kelly, and she said, look, the thing is, I don't want you two to be the same. And you know, I see King Lu, because Cookie's character was one character from the book, but my character is adapted from the book was actually two different characters. So my character was more up in the air as to, you know, who is King Lu, and she wanted to have a completely sort of different feel to King Lu, and I struggled with that for quite a while. That's just that question, you know, that sort of koan, that puzzle. You know, I think they're the same type of people. You know, they're very similar, but she wanted something very different, and then it hit me, this idea that King Lu, when he was younger, was very soft, very quiet, very reserved. But then through his life, he's had to learn to, you know, in each different culture, he had to learn to adapt. He's had to learn to be sort of friendly and outgoing and, hey, how are you? And in that process, he's become a different person, even though inside he's still that same person. So when you say that they're soulmates, yes, I do think that they're soulmates. And but when they meet each other, their souls recognize each other. Even though actually when you see them and their behaviors, they're kind of two different people. You know, King Lu's chatty and always talking and always has ideas and is always going from, you know, one thing to the other, and you know, Cookie's completely sort of different. You know, has a, you know, I wouldn't say that's what John McGarrett to say what Cookie is. But you see these two very different people, but their souls match. You know, they come from the same place, and that's the way that I sort of I came to it, was that they are actually very sort of similar people. They're not opposites, even though on screen you could say they're opposites. But regardless, you know, they come together and they match. I think, oh gosh, yeah, and I just think that it's wonderful to have to see that sort of relationship, you know, between two males on screen. You know, why do two friends always have to be like, hey, you know what, check that woman's butt out or whatever, you know, like, right. You know, I mean, you know, yeah. And I think you know, and Kelly's wonderful in just in showing those parts of life which, you know, Hollywood doesn't necessarily highlight. And yeah, I think that's beautiful. And oh, hello.
Yeah,
sorry,
still there. It's okay.
my battery might be running low. I do have my iPhone as well, but sorry, I might have to shift in a little bit. But yeah, sorry. So that, okay, that was,
yeah. Well, you mentioned Kelly Reichardt there with you know, she definitely has that reputation in the independent film world, and people, you know, have a recognition of her. But now, having worked with her, would you say there's anything special just about her directing style that you maybe haven't encountered with other people you've worked with?
One thing which I really felt on set was that just the familial atmosphere on set. Like everybody, because she tends to work with a core team, I guess. Maybe that's why, and a lot of them worked together before. But it was just, you know, everybody was so kind and nice to each other, and we're working at a very high level. So I do tend to do, like I said, I look for those opportunities to work with good and able people. Good, nice people who have a high level of ability. I'm always trying to find the opportunities to work with people like that. Not just people who are really able, or just people who are really good, like as in like nice.
Right.
I want both. And that whole set was like that. In terms of Kelly herself, she gave a lot of space to the actors, and she also adapted, because my character and Cookie's character are so different. I became more King Lu, and John McGlaro probably became more Cookie, and our characters are so different that our relationship with her was different as well. And she adapted to that as well. She adapts to her actors and sees what her actors need, and then adapts to that. And every note she gave was golden. It was just so I don't know, beautiful and helpful at the same time, and insightful, and gave you that confidence that she was really watching your performance, and she would be there if you ever needed a hand.
Yeah, she strikes me as that kind of observant, kind of, sensitive type of director, which is, I imagine, great to work with.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Well, finally, I already asked John this, and I need to know your perspective too. Were the oily cakes that you made together as good as they were made out to be?
Well, the oily cakes were amazing. The ones that we tasted were made by the props people. Well, that I tasted, because I'm too busy selling them to eat them. Like, each one is worth money to me. I'm not going to eat them. But I do remember taking that first bite out of the biscuit that he made, which he put on the little windowsill, and just my eyes was like, whoa, this is amazing, because I was expecting this cold, hard piece of like tack. In fact, it was fluffy and warm, and yeah. I really do wish they caught that one on camera. The rehearsal. But yeah, it was just a blessing to be able to work with that team of people, and all this recognition is just the icing on the cake. The cake was doing that job.
The icing on the oily cake, perhaps. There you go. Well, thank you so much, Orion, for talking to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for those of you watching, hit like and subscribe for more interviews just like this, and head to goldderby.com to make your predictions.